Jake Turner, 22, had never known what it felt like to have a real family. His earliest memories were of crowded foster homes and strangers who promised stability but never stayed. Over the years, he learned to keep his head down, work hard, and depend on no one but himself. There was only one thing in the world that brought him joy: fixing cars. By the time he was 16, Jake could take apart an engine blindfolded and put it back together in less than a day. He found a job at a small, dusty garage on the outskirts of Dallas, Texas. The pay was modest, just enough to cover the rent for his one-bedroom apartment and groceries. But for Jake, working with machines wasn't just a way to earn. It was his lifeline. One sweltering July afternoon, as the heat shimmered off the asphalt outside, Jake was wiping grease from his hands when a deep, purring sound broke the monotony. A gleaming black Rolls-Royce Phantom slowly rolled into the lot, its polished chrome glinting under the Texas sun. Such a car was a rare sight in this neighborhood, where most vehicles were pickups held together with duct tape and determination. The driver stepped out first. A tall man in a tailored grey suit, beads of sweat forming on his brow. His voice was tinged with urgency. "The engine won't start. I've tried everything. Can you help?" Jake didn't hesitate. Popped the hood. As he leaned over the massive engine bay, Jake's practiced eyes scanned the intricate machinery. It took him less than a minute to spot the culprits: a badly damaged ignition coil and wires that looked like they hadn't been touched in years. He straightened up and looked at the driver. "I can fix it, but it'll take a couple of hours." The man exchanged a glance with someone still inside the car, then nodded. The passenger door opened, and Jake's breath caught for a second. A woman stepped out dressed in an immaculate white dress that seemed immune to the dust and grease around her. She moved with quiet authority, her posture straight, her gaze direct. She had the kind of elegance you couldn't fake. It was in her walk, her voice, her very presence. Jake recognized her instantly. Vivian Blackwell, CEO of Blackwell Motors, a name that dominated luxury car markets across the country. He'd read about her in magazines, seen her on the news, but never imagined she'd be standing a few feet away from him, in his humble garage. Vivian said nothing at first, simply folding her arms as she watched him work. Jake's hands moved with mechanical precision, yet with a certain reverence for the machine in front of him. Every bolt was loosened carefully, every wire handled gently, as though he were tending to a living thing. Hours slipped by, and finally the Phantom's engine gave a deep, satisfying rumble when Jake turned the key. The sound filled the garage like music. "How much do I owe you?" Vivian asked, her voice calm but expectant. Jake thought for a moment, then shrugged. "Just the cost of the parts. Labor's free." Vivian's brows rose slightly. "Why would you do that? You've just spent hours on this." Jake met her gaze and said simply, "Because fixing things is my passion, and because once someone gave me a chance when they didn't have to. I'm just paying it forward." For a moment, something softened in her eyes. A flicker of memory, maybe, or recognition. She reached into her purse, pulled out a sleek black card and placed it on the counter. "You're talented, Jake Turner. More talented than you probably realize." He stared at the card but didn't touch it. "Thank you, ma'am." Vivian didn't push him to take it. She just smiled faintly, turned, and walked back to her car. But as the Phantom glided away, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't the last time he'd see her. 2 days later, the garage was its usual mix of clanging tools, rumbling engines, and the faint scent of motor oil when everything suddenly went quiet. A sleek black Rolls-Royce pulled into the lot again, its glossy finish reflecting the midday sun like a mirror. This time Jake didn't need to wonder who it was. He wiped his hands on a rag and stepped out from behind a lifted Chevy. The driver got out first, but before he could speak, the passenger door opened and Vivian Blackwell herself stepped into the light. Today, she wore a charcoal gray designer suit with a silk blouse, an outfit that radiated both wealth and authority. The garage, full of workers in oil-stained overalls, seemed to freeze mid-motion. Her heels clicked against the concrete as she walked straight toward Jake. No small talk, no hesitation, just a direct, piercing gaze. "Jake Turner?" she asked, though it was more of a statement than a question. "Yes, ma'am," Jake replied cautiously. Vivian reached into her handbag and pulled out a cream-colored business card embossed in silver. She held it out to him between two fingers. "I'd like you to visit my corporate office tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock sharp." Jake glanced at the card, Blackwell Motors, Executive Offices, Dallas Tower, and felt a strange mix of curiosity and disbelief. "What's this about?" he asked. "You'll find out when you get there." Her tone was calm but firm, leaving no room for argument. Then she turned on her heel and walked back to the Phantom, the air seeming lighter after she left. The next morning, Jake found himself standing in front of the tallest building in downtown Dallas. The glass skyscraper glittered in the morning sun, reflecting the bustling city around it. For a guy who had grown up bouncing between foster homes and fixing old trucks in dusty garages, it felt like stepping into another world. Inside, the lobby was all marble floors, modern art, and a receptionist who seemed to have been carved from elegance itself. "Mr. Turner?" she asked politely. "Miss Blackwell is expecting you." Jake followed her to a private elevator that shot them up to the 50th floor. When the doors opened, he stepped into an office so sleek and spacious it could have fit his entire apartment twice over. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Dallas skyline, and behind a massive glass desk sat Vivian Blackwell. She stood as he entered. "Sit down, Jake." He obeyed, still feeling out of place in his cleanest flannel shirt and worn jeans. "I did some checking after you fixed my car," she began. "Your work was flawless, better than any certified mechanic I've hired. And you did it without asking for fair payment." Jake shrugged. "Like I said, I just like fixing things." She leaned forward slightly. "You have a gift, Jake, one that shouldn't be wasted in a small garage on the outskirts of the city. So here's my offer, a full scholarship to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology engineering program. In exchange, you'll intern at Blackwell Motors every summer until you graduate." Jake stared at her, stunned. "MIT, ma'am, that's impossible. I don't have the grades, the money." Vivian interrupted him with a small smile. "Grades can be improved. Money is my problem, not yours. What I see in you can't be taught. The instinct, the precision, the respect for the machine. The rest we can train." His mind raced. This was the kind of opportunity people dreamed of, but never imagined could actually happen, especially not to someone like him. "Why me?" he finally asked. Vivian's expression softened for just a moment. "Because once someone took a chance on me when I had nothing, and I made the most of it. Now it's my turn to pass it on." Silence hung in the room, filled only by the distant hum of the city below. Jake swallowed hard, then nodded. "I'll do it." Vivian extended her hand across the desk, and when he shook it, the deal was sealed. As he left the office, the card she'd first given him still in his pocket, Jake couldn't help but think, maybe, for the first time in his life, the future was brighter than the past.